Vidya Prakashan Mandir Private Limited.
Hello everyone, my name is Ekta Rora and I am your instructor for today. So today grade 7 we will be doing your chapter number 8, popular beliefs and religious debates. Whatever we have learned till now, we are going to specifically learn what happened in which period. So you will get the data of whatever we have learned in the previous chapters. This will be you can say a particular topic will be covered in these particular chapters, these 3 chapters, 8, 9 and 10. So during the early medieval period, Hinduism and Islam were the dominant religions in India. Shaivism and Vaishnavism were the two main sects of Hinduism. In addition to these, the worship of Shakti in the form of Kali, Durga, Jagdamba, etc. was widely prevalent. Buddhism declined in the north, but it remained popular in eastern India. Jainism became popular among the trading class. The Lingayat founded the Basava of Karnataka was the most popular sect in Chola kingdom. Bhakti movement was also started by the Nayanar and Alwa saints in South India. In the early 16th century, Sikhism was founded by Guru Nanak. The Hindu religion was ridden with several evils. There was domination of the priests and meaningless rituals and ceremonies. The Hindu society was ridden and rigid and complex. It had complex caste system. In the Muslim society, Farda system was prevalent, while Sati and Johar were prevalent among the Hindus. This Sati and Johar we have already learned in the previous chapter. Farda system, all of this we have learned in the previous chapters. Now let's come to Bhakti movement. What is Bhakti movement? So according to the ancient Hindu thought, a salvation of freedom from the bondage of birth and death is the ultimate end of human life, and it can be attained by 3 means: knowledge, action and devotion. During the Sultanate period, a series of Hindu religious thinkers and reformers set on foot a movement for religious reforms which emphasized devotion, which came to be known as Bhakti movement. So this was the very important movement. You have to understand it properly. So this movement was not altogether new. This movement received impetus from the presence of those who were the criticizers. What happens in Hinduism? Basically, these Muslim preachers, they used to criticize. So they also gave their reviews about it. The history of the Bhakti movement goes back to the time to the great reformer Shankaracharya, who successfully combated Buddhism and gave Hinduism a common solid philosophical background. He established a logical monastic system and laid emphasis on jhana as a meaning of attaining salvation. So what is the main purpose? Attaining salvation. So Bhakti movement में what happens? These Kabir, Mirabai, everyone came in this period only because now earlier though the bad things what was there in the Hinduism, now they started focusing on particular things in Bhakti movement. Anxious to attract the common people, our religious thinkers of the medieval age laid stress on Bhakti, which means personal devotion. So they now, everyone now focusing on their personal devotion. They were some were following Krishna, some were following Vishnu, some were following some other god. So it was now personalized without performing any rituals. The people as well as the leaders of the movement sought solace in other worldliness. According to the Bhakti cult, God may have a form. So according to the Bhakti group, God may have form or may not have form. So according to the group who thinks that God has the form, we used to call them Saguna, and other ones were called Nirguna. So followers of Saguna Bhakti worship many gods, while those of Nirguna Bhakti do not believe in idol worship. They believe that God is omnipresent. That means God resides inside us, in our heart. Both the Saguna and the Nirguna believe in the Upanishad, the philosophy of Advaita. Bhakti says laid great emphasis on securing true knowledge from a guru for devotion and attaining moksha. What I told you, that attaining salvation is the main focus at that time. The history of Bhakti movement dates back to the Alwars and Nayanas of South India. It was started in the Tamil region by 12 Vaishnavite saints and 63 Shaiva saints. Later, it spread to the other regions in South India. It became popular in North India around 15th century. The basic principle of the Bhakti movement was the loving relationship between the devotee and his personal God. Most of the Bhakti saints were non-Brahmins. They discarded rituals and sacrifices as modes of worship. They emphasized the purity of heart and mind and kindness and love to all. They also discarded discrimination in society based on caste and creed, which was very good. They preached in popular language. All these factors made Bhakti a mass movement. Now we'll study about Bhakti saints. So various saints at that time came into the scenario. Ramananja, Ramanand, Kabir, Ravidas, they all came at that time. So here we are going to study a little bit about them. So this Ramananja, he was the first saint of Bhakti movement. He lived and preached in South India. And Ramananda, he was a disciple of Ramanuj. He spread the message of Ramanuj in North India. Then came Ravidas and Kabir. They were the main disciples who belonged to the so-called low classes. And Ramananda laid stress on justice, unity, and equality in society. Now, Kabir was a weaver by profession. He lived in Varanasi and he was a Nirguna Bhakti saint. He criticized both Hindu and Muslim equally for their meaningless rituals. He rejected Vedas and Purans and the supremacy of the Brahmins and the Mullahs. He was opposed to the caste system and idol worship. He's very important character. We'll do this case study of Kabir also. He emphasized the path of love, devotion, bhakti through his dohas. His dohas are very famous. For example, Kabira teri झोपड़ी कलकटियन के पास जो करेगा सो भरेगा तू क्यों भया उदास. Beautiful dohas Kabir ke. Ravidas, again another Nirguna Bhakti saint, was a cobbler by profession. Then came Guru Nanak. He was also a Nirguna Bhakti saint. We'll do the detailed study of Guru Nanak also in further chapters. Among the Saguna Bhakti saints, Chaitanya, Vallabhacharya, Mirabai, Sula. Mirabai is very famous. Surdas, Sula, these all are very famous. So Chaitanya was the greatest Bhakti saint in Bengal. He was a devotee of Krishna. Vallabhacharya was also a devotee of Krishna. Mirabai was also a devotee of Krishna, but got married to Rana Sanga sons. Surdas was also a devotee of Krishna. Tulsidas was the devotee of Rama. He wrote Ramcharitra Manas. See, the Surdas wrote Sursagar. Shankaradev, he was from Assam, also devotee of Krishna and Vishnu. Narsi Mehta, devotee of Radha Krishna. Then came in Maharashtra, Sant Gyaneshwar. He also began the Bhakti movement and wrote Gyaneshwari. Then this Namdev, Tukaram, Ramdas, they all came. Now see, I told you that we are going to do the case study of Kabir. So Kabir, he was born in 1440 and died in 1518. So why he's very important? Because the first thing, he's very famous for his dohas, because whatever he used to write, it was he used to write beautifully. He made most of the earnest efforts to foster a spirit of harmony between Hindu and Islam. Kabir's early life is shrouded in mystery. He is said to have been born in a Brahmin family, but that female left him near a tank, and some Muslim weaver picked him up. So that is why we told you that he was a weaver. So scholars differ about his date of birth also. It seems almost certain that he flourished over the close of the 15th century. He is said to have become a disciple of Ramananda. He did not believe in the efficacy of rituals, external formalities. He didn't believe in Hinduism or Islam. To him, the true meaning of salvation was bhajan, or devotional worship, together with the freedom of soul from all sham, insincerity, hypocrisy, and cruelty. Now we'll talk about Sufism. The word Sufi is derived from the Arabic word safa, which means pure. Muslim saints who advocated a life of purity and renunciation came to be known as Sufis. According to Sufism, God is the unity behind all the plurality and the reality. The doctrine was propounded by Sheikh Muhyiddin Abdul Arabi. It became the acknowledged belief of all the Sufis in India who were successful in converting a large number of low-caste Hindus to Islam. They laid the foundation of Urdu language. Who laid the foundation of Urdu language? Sufis. And became a medium of intercourse between them and the Indian people. They looked like Indian sadhus in some of their practices and behavior. Data Ganj Bakhsh is considered as known as the founder of Sufi culture in India. Sufi silsilas. Sufis were organized into various silsilas. The doctrines were not common. These Sufis orders were named after the founder of a particular order. In India, Chishti, Suryavardi, and Naqshbandi were the three oldest Sufi orders. Each Sufi order has a Khanga. According to Abdul Faiz, there were 14 Sufi orders in the 15th century. So this is first is Chishti order. There is Suryavardi order. What is Chishti order? It was founded by Khwaja Abdul Chishti in Herat and brought by him in India. Where he came with Muhammad Ghazni in 1116 and he settled in Ajmer. He ordered the Chishti order was very popular in India. Both Hindus and Muslims became their followers. Now these were the great Sufis of that order, and Akbar was also a devotee of Sheikh Salim Chishti, and he also built this tomb at Fatehpur Sikri. Ajmer and Delhi were the big centers of Chishti order in India at that time. Second is Suryavardi order. It was founded by Sheikh Suryavardi, and it was founded by him in 1145 to 1235. So he was the disciple of Sheikh Shihabuddin. This order was popular in Sindh and Multan, which is now currently in Pakistan. Sheikh Bahuddin did not believe in modesty and asceticism. He led a luxurious life and followed the rules of Islam. He took keen interest in politics and mixed with elite and influential people only. He accepted lands and gifts from the Sultan. Third is Naqshbandi. It was founded by Khwaja Bitta in the 16th century, and this Sheikh Ahmad Sirhindi was a famous Sufi of this order. What were the teachings of Sufism? They did not believe in fast, rituals, and feasts. They emphasized on love and devotion only. To whom? To God. They preach that God is one and almighty. All men are his children. To love God is to love mankind. Prayers, fast, rituals are not so important as the true love of God. Devotional music is the only way, according to you must have heard about Sufi music. So, devotional music is one way of coming close to God. People should follow the teachings of a pir, who is like a guru of the Hindus. Caste or creed is no barrier. It's a great thing. There is no need of conversion. Again, great thing. The Sufis were able to spread Muslim culture in India. Their concept of equality and brotherhood attracted the lower classes of Hindus. Now, Dil-e-Illai, we have already learned about this chapter when we were learning about this Mughals. That Akbar founded this. Why? Because he was against the bad thinking or bad rituals of what used to happen in Hindus and Muslims. So he incorporated this principle of all the religions to found a new faith, and it's called Dil-e-Illai. He did not force convergence to new faith. The new faith discouraged killing of animals for food. Harsh punishments like mutilation of limbs were discontinued. It also disapproved the Sati customs. But when he died, this also died. Now comes to Sikhism. It is based on the 10th Guru of teachings of the 10th Guru. His name was Guru Nanak Dev. He was born in Pakistan. Even when he was a child, Nanak had a contemplative mind. He took little interest in worldly affairs also. He remained happy in the company of Sufis and Sadhus. On the day of Kartik Purnima, he experienced a spiritual regeneration. He traveled throughout India and spread his message and teachings. He also went to Makkah, Medina, Baghdad, and Sri Lanka. His teachings are contained in Adi Granth, which is the holy book of Sikhs. Nanak believed that God has no form. He is Nirankar. You can call him Ram, Rahim, Rav, Hari, Govind, whatever you want to call him. He preached through his kirtan. Now, what were the main teachings of Guru Nanak? Main teachings of God is one. He is the only ultimate truth. There is no distinction between you are from lower class, you are from high class, you are so good looking, you are bad looking. No, nothing. He believed in only good actions and devotions. He never used to believe in the useless rituals of Hindus and Muslims. And he also started free community kitchens, which is called Guru Ka Langar. He established Sangat, Pangats at several places. These served as association for his disciples to meet regularly. 20 days before his death at Kartarpur, he had a big congregation of his followers and established the seat of Guru. He chose Angad as his successor, who became the second Sikh Guru. Now, these are the 10 names of 10 Gurus. Guru Angad collected the hymns of the Guru Nanak and organized them in Guru Mukhi script. Guru Arjan Dev constructed the Har Mandir Sahib, Amritsar, in the temple, the Golden Temple. He advocated worldly life and made offerings compulsory. Guru Har Gobind organized the Sikh into a military community and constructed the Akal Takht. Guru Har Rai and Guru Har Krishna followed the policy of pacifism and consolidated Sikhism. Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib spent his whole life fighting against injustice and oppression during the Mughal rule. His martyrdom changed the history of the Sikhs and of Punjab. Guru Gobind Singh Ji, the son of Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji, and the last Guru, created a new order of Sikhs, the Khalsa. Guru Gobind Singh was born in Patna and he was brought up and trained like a prince. He was nominated as the next Guru during the lifetime of Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji. He made Anandpur his headquarters and decided to create national awakening in Punjab. In 1699, he called a meeting at Anandpur and established the Khalsa Panth. He called upon the people to come forward to the cause of Dharma. In the assembly, 5 men came out and pledged their life to Guru for the cause of Dharma. So he used to call them Panj Pyaras. For the guidance of his followers, the Guru prescribed a special set of rules of conduct. So these 5 symbols which every Sikh you will find. The first one is Kesh, they never karte hai. It's important. Kanga, a comb. Kacha, Kada, and Kripa. The writings of Guru Gobind Singh were collected in Dasham Granth. After the Guru Gobind Singh, the temporal seat of the Guru ended. The leadership of the community was vested in the Khalsa Panth, and the Granth Sahib, Gurudwara, Sangat, Pangat became the prominent Sikh institutions. This chapter is very interesting. Go through this chapter, you'll love it. I hope you all have understood and enjoyed it. Thank you so much.